So the first thing when looking at a food label, Kristen, is right under nutrition facts is the serving size. And it's important to stop there and look first because all these numbers below pertain to that amount of food. So I typically grab a breakfast cereal because if you just get your bowl out and pour it in and then look, you're probably wrong. Because the serving size on a breakfast cereal is about an ounce of that cereal. And that's why the serving sizes are different. Because if it's a dense or a lightweight cereal, it's going to take up more room in the cup. So it's 3/4 of a cup here. 30 grams is about an ounce. And then depending upon what you're looking for, we can just kind of trail down here. The next big thing that people are interested in is usually the calories, as are stated here. And usually on breakfast cereals, they have a column for just the cereal, and then they do it with the added milk. So make sure you're looking at the column for the information that you want. And we'll just look at the cereal column today. So for the 3/4 cup, you've got 110 calories. So if you had a cup and a half, you'd be up to 220, which you understand. And on the label are the three, what we call macronutrients. Those are the nutrients that we get calories from. Fat, cholesterol, and protein. And they're divided out because they've got subcategories underneath. Total fat, here we've got 1/2 gram for total fat. And total means the sum of different types of fats. And on the food label, what's required by law are the saturated and the trans fats. The unsaturated is optional, but here they're listed, both the poly and the mono. So these...
Is that fat good for you?
These are the heart-healthy fats, the poly and the mono. And ironically, they're the ones that don't have to be on a food label, which I find kind of interesting. But if they're not, you can figure it out by doing fat and then saturated fat and trans. Well, if we add up the trans grams and the saturated fat grams, we only get 3. Well, the other 5 are the unsaturated, the healthy fats. So you can just do the math. Here, they're all listed. And they're all rounded, so they all say 0, and it still adds up to 1/2 gram because of the rounding. So total fat are the sum of the 3 fats. Saturated, which is the unhealthy fat. Trans, which is also the unhealthy. And then the one that may or may not be listed, but you can figure out by doing the math, are the unsaturated. Any question on fats?
No.
Okay. So next then is cholesterol. And that's listed in milligrams. And then sodium, also listed in milligrams.
I have a question about sodium.
Yeah.
How many milligrams are you supposed to have a day?
Okay. On the food label, we use what are called the daily values, percent daily values. These replace the old RDAs. The daily value is simply a number for each nutrient that we are either to get or to not go over. And for sodium, it's one of those don't go over this number. And on a food label, there are a few listed, and sodium happens to be down here in the footnote, way at the bottom. So the daily value, and they're based on the 2,000 calorie column. See, and here's the fiber thing too. So 25 to 30. So that's why I picked the 30. So actually it's 25. So it's 25 grams. So for sodium, the daily value is less than 2,400 milligrams. That's the amount of sodium in 1 teaspoon of salt. So let's use that information to answer your question. So back up in the label then, we go over to the daily value column. Here it is. It's 5%. Percent means parts of 100. Like this would be like 5 pennies or 5 cents out of $1. The dollar being the whole, which is the 2,400. Now the FDA, which established these guidelines, has this guideline for interpreting the percents. They're all up here. 5 and 20. If it's 5% or less, it's considered low. So 3/4 cup of this cereal would be low in sodium. Whereas if this was 20 or above, it's high. Now down here, we've got vitamins and minerals, and a couple of them are at 25% because they've been added to this cereal. This is enriched or fortified. So These are generally vitamins that we want, so that's good. So it depends what you're looking at, Kristen. If it's a nutrient that you don't want much of, you want a low percent daily value, like sodium. Whereas if it was calcium or fiber, you want a higher number. So that's a guide to interpreting that information, okay? And then they list potassium. This is optional. This isn't required, but they chose to add it because it's in their cereal. And then next comes total carbohydrate. And just like total fat, this is also the sum of 3 types of carbohydrates. And by law, 2 of them are on the label, and they are dietary fiber, which you've been looking at, and sugar. The third one, and they call it other carbohydrate, that just means starch. Okay, because carbohydrates are sugars and starches.
And that has 19 grams, which that would be a lot, right?
No.
Oh, it wouldn't?
No, what this is saying is that the total carbohydrate is 25.
Okay.
See, as a diabetes educator, I teach people to look right here, because
Okay.
both sugars and starches become blood sugar. I don't want to divert into diabetes here, but that's included. See how these numbers add up to 25?
Yes.
19 and 6? So you don't really need to look at sugars and starches, look at the total. And in the diabetes world, this would be considered about 2 servings of carbohydrate for 3/4 of a cup, again. Okay? And then protein is listed last. And even though there is a daily value for protein, it's not used on food labels because it's understood in our country that most of us get adequate, if not more than enough protein in our diet. So they don't even put the percent daily value on the label. Now down here below the heavy bar, and you see it here, 2 vitamins and 2 minerals have to be listed by law. And there they are, A and C, and iron and calcium. Now as I said earlier, this cereal has been fortified or enriched with the B vitamins and others, and so they list them all. They may do that, like they listed potassium up here. They have to follow the same format for label content, but it's optional.
It's a label checker for
Calories per hot dog. High in the sodium, but you're going to get that probably anywhere. And fat, 20%. Same calories, less gram of fat, a little bit less sodium. Interesting.
So beef is better than chicken and pork hot dogs.
According to the label.
But these are the ones on sale.
I understand that. And, 1 gram, and it's not that much difference. It's not drastic.
Yeah.